everyone. Welcome back to the Freeman Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Mariano. Before we get started, let's talk about our sponsor real quick here, What the Snark, located in Wild Rose. They specialize in custom hats, apparels, hoodies, decals, and branded gear, all designed and produced locally. Now, today's episode, we're sitting down with Ricky Brown, the voice behind GraniteTruth, and we're also joined here with Sam Wood, who's been part of several conversations we've had on the podcast surrounding community awareness and local involvement. Ricky, Sam, I really appreciate you guys coming on the show today. Now, why don't we start by introducing yourself, Ricky, as this is your first time on the show, and
Right.
then telling everyone a little bit about yourself and then how you got GraniteTruth started, and we'll go from there.
My name is Ricky Brown. I've been a lifelong resident of Washera County, except for a few times I moved out of it. But it's my entire life I've been here. Um, what got me started into this primarily was there was questions around the library funding in my town and why they're cutting the funding in half. And that turned out to be a whole lot of he said, she said, right? The funding did get cut, but it wasn't for the reasons everybody was being told. And then additionally, the sheriff is what actually really dragged me into it because I was really, really mad to find out he stole a bunch of money. And I've just been doing what I can to press and make sure people are aware that that happened. Because it's a big slap in the face for somebody who's supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer in our county to take from us and then say, I'll just give you a portion of it back. And I had somebody run this by me, not to keep going on that for a second, but I had somebody run this by me. So what's interesting is he's paying us back out of his salary, correct? Who pays his salary? We do. So effectively, we're paying us back for him stealing money. So he's not being punished at all. And that just blows my mind that that's where we're at with this right now.
Yeah, we could definitely touch base on that a little bit more here once we get into it. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to jump on the show. I brought Sam in here. Obviously, Sam's someone that's been on my show quite a few times. He's a community advocate. He's the people's champ as far as I'm concerned. So, when you're willing to put on the gloves, man, and you're willing to roll up your sleeves and things are about to get a little dirty, like not a lot of people are stepping up to the plate for stuff like that. So
A lot
really
of people
appreciate you,
can't.
Sam.
A lot of people can't,
Right.
or they feel they can't, right? They got to
Right.
protect their job. They got to protect their kids. They got to protect a whole lot of stuff. I'm pretty lucky. I watched one of Ricky's things today, and it was about the people, like you said, felons are willing to stand on a principle, right? I don't think it's
Yes.
felons. I think it's people that you don't want to say maybe not born with a silver spoon or whatever. Or, I didn't have much growing up. I had to work and fight for what I got. And then what really fucked everybody up is I went in the Marine Corps, and then that teaches you, it's over. You can't be, the day you step on them yellow footprints will be the last day you ever fear anybody or any consequences as far as what somebody could do to you for doing right. I met Ricky. He came up to me when we were going for the first time for the dog, right? When we had the courthouse packed with like 270 people or some shit. And
Yep.
Ricky came up and he goes, I want to get involved, but I haven't been a pillar of the community, or and I've been involved with some stuff, and I don't have a whole lot of money, and I told Ricky, and you're a prime example of what people can do, right? Because I told you that night, I said, listen, you start digging into stuff, you take it slow, you figure it out, and it might be the dog stuff, it might be this, it might be that, but something is going to stand out, and then that's going to be your passion, and then you're going to get excited. And then after a while, you're going to start to get calculated. I'm right now playing fucking 5D chess with the county. And, hats off to Ricky. You're playing master checkers now. Your checkers, you were about a
Master
month and a half, 2 months ago, but now you're master checkers. And sometimes, you and I talk and you
Yeah.
say, and you make the comments, you don't have the resources that I do. So I'm lucky to have them resources, right? And I'm lucky to have, but the one thing you have that I don't is all this time at home, right? One of the rules of
Right.
Sam's success is it's going to cost you time or it's going to cost you money. So
Right.
and you said something earlier. All it takes to be involved is the passion, and you got to know how to fucking read. Everything else is there
Right.
for you to dig it up and figure it out. Don't people call me for legal advice, or they call me for this or that, and it's like, I'm not a lawyer, but dig into it. Ricky's really good at digging up the state statutes and way better at that than I am, you know.
So
But that's
interestingly,
what it takes, just a passion.
the reason I'm really good at digging up them state statutes is honestly because of my incarceration time, because there's a lot that goes on inside the prison system that's just against you, and it's intentionally that way. They lie to you, they mislead you, they deceive you, and you actually have to be your own lawyer and advocate for yourself. And it's
Okay, and
something I
then
learned from my,
on the outside, and on the outside, you got to realize this. So when this all started, I was fighting everybody, right? I'm fighting the
uh
community because they don't fucking believe that what I'm saying is the truth, even though I got it in
right,
black and white, right? So
right,
I'm fighting the majority of the community. Then I'm fighting the sheriff's office because Wally and them guys are out there just fucking spewing lies and saying I don't know what I'm talking about. And then I'm fighting the county board. And now all of a sudden we have this all together, right? The deputies hated me. And so now I have deputies talking to me. So when
uh
you say the system's
Thank
against
you,
you
Jesus.
in the system's against you in jail, the system is against you fucking outside of jail. But the system is also against the deputies. You know, if you're working under a bad administration, shitbird Sheriff Wally, can you imagine
yep,
going to work every day and having to be working with that fucking piece of shit? And then you're looking at him like, this is my boss, and he's supposed to be holding me
right,
accountable. And then he puts his girlfriend and his cousin in charge of you too. That's a horrible
Yeah.
position, right? But but now
so
you look at it. Just go ahead.
we had a brief conversation about that, I think, in reference to an officer that I've made a few videos about, where it wasn't maybe exactly what I thought it was, based on my personal experiences and others' experiences.
Yeah.
Where it was misrepresented, where everything was his fault and this was all of his own volition, and he was just a cocksucker, right? Well, come to find out, he was being encouraged to act that way, and he was
Yep.
basically the patsy. And I would like right now
Well,
to take the time.
in the beginning, they use these guys. They use these guys to get their numbers right,
Yes,
and they're influenced just like you are. This is no other job. Like literally, they wake up in the morning, they get the job, and this is what I said in my one video. I want to get Washera County deputies back to where they felt like the very first day they put that uniform on, because they ain't feeling
right.
it now. You know that
No,
if
Right.
they say anything, if they they have to talk to Sam Wood secretly or whatever, because if they say anything, shitbird Wally's going to be on them, no show Vaquero, and things are going to be bad, right?
right.
So they have that. So they're fighting that. Then they have Ricky, this fucking piece of shit. Da, 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 da. They're slamming him, right? And but then here's the thing, right? That's the majority of the people are out there. And in the beginning, I was bad at him because I'm like, again, Ricky, you're taking a stand, right? You're catching hell about it,
Yes,
right? I'm taking a
I'm mad,
stand. I'm
super
catching
mad.
hell about it. But they wouldn't take a stand. And I was pissed off because I'm like, you're not gonna take a stand. Why should I? Don't tell me you didn't know
Right.
about Deputy Dick Pick and the dog shit and everything else. The
Right,
majority of them do. They've
right.
told me. But what are they going to do? Go talk to the boss's girlfriend? Go talk to his cousin, his fishing buddy?
They lose
It's
their
hard,
job.
right? Yeah,
They got
or they
wives, they
get
got kids.
blacklisted. And now you got to think about this, Ricky. The majority of them deputies live in our community. Some of
Yes,
them have been
Right.
here just as long as we have. They were born here, their parents were here, and they want to make a
Right.
difference. If they lose this job, where the fuck are they going to go? Right? This is what, so they want to make a difference and they can't. So their hands are tied. Now they see the community getting behind them. And like you said, realizing this guy was a product of his environment. I have a
yes.
past, product of my environment. I think you guys had a past, product of your
Me
environment.
too. Yep.
And now, and when I told you, Ricky, when you start taking a stance, you're going to lose friends and you might lose family and everything else. Did I not tell you that night?
You did, and you know what? Since you
Has it
bring that up,
happened?
I want to. Yep, I want to parlay right into something that happened with that. I have a family member that now no longer wants to be my family because the videos I posted about Nicholas Gonzalez and his 15 counts of child pornography.
Oh, well.
I'm not gonna say their name. I want to save my family the embarrassment, but I do have family members that don't want to have anything to do with me anymore because um, it's a small community, right? And we all are in one way, especially me, my family's related to everybody. We're all tied in one way or another. Um, and they didn't appreciate that I made these videos saying these things I said about him. And you know what? I love him and I wish him the best, but I don't care. If you don't like hearing the truth, don't listen. And to me, it's that
Right,
simple.
right.
Right.
So you got the same thing with these deputies. So they're reaching out to me, and I'm like, okay, there's two things after we've done a lot of cleaning up the sheriff's department, a lot of the shitbirds are gone. We have all of that done, right? The deal with Wally, It ain't right. But what are you gonna do? They would spend a fucking $1 million to hang Sam Wood as high as they could. No doubt in my mind.
But they won't spend 10 grand to
But
put him on trial.
correct. But you have to understand. So there's two different things here, right? There's criminal, which we're not
Yes.
done with yet, and then
Right.
there's civil. The money is civil. The actual money is civil. The act of
Right.
taking the money may be criminal. So
Right.
in the county board's eyes, they have to watch the budget, watch the money. They can't force an investigation. They can't arrest him. Other elected officials do that, whatever. So
Right.
in the best interest of the county, as far as collecting that money, 10 grand made sense or whatever, because it would have costed us more and everything else. That doesn't necessarily mean that that doesn't necessarily mean that the sheriff is off the hook criminally.
Right.
So
I'm glad
there's
there's
that. And our
clarification on that.
DA,
because-
our DA won't even fight a trespassing ticket. So what makes you think he wants to take the Wally
For sure.
to task?
Well, speaking of our district
that-
attorney, that's another thing. That's another thing I wanted to talk about. We got this guy out here being real lax and real nice to these child predators, and I really don't appreciate it. He's giving them low bonds, like real low achievable, attainable
100%.
bonds, so they can get right back out into the community, and they can be right back to doing these things that
So
they're
I
doing.
believe and now I'm not kissing law enforcement's ass. I've learned a lot of what they've been telling me. So they got
Right.
that one guy, the guy that was in Watoma. Which one's that?
That's the
Shiloh
last
View.
name View.
Shiloh View.
Okay, so they got, dude. I heard there was 100+ videos on his phone or whatever. His
Oh,
stuff.
And that guy was talking about taking those kids to meet
got
God.
charged with 6.
I don't know if that's the same
Got
guy.
charged with 6.
I think there you're
So
talking
the
about a
whole
different
thing is
individual.
running rampant, right? The whole
Right.
thing is running rampant, and
Right.
if we keep getting the name of being laxed on it, it's just going to keep going bad. So
And then those predators
that's
are going to
right.
move to a sheriff
I
county
think
because they're going to think
After
that they can
like
get
I
away
said,
with more
after
shit.
the sheriff's
Right.
thing, I think the thing that's plaguing us right now is the drugs and the overdose, because that affects
For sure.
everybody in the community, right? Guys are doing drugs, they're fucking stealing, it's no good.
Nope.
So
Right.
we have that, and they're on probation. I talked to a guy. I got the deputies are telling me, "Hey, listen, what do you want us to do?" Well, that guy, we can't get probation and parole to fucking help us get this handled. They'll get a guy, they'll lock him up for 2 days. The deputies are like, so when they release him from jail, he's sick, and the first thing he does is go do drugs. We can't even get him dried out in
Right.
order to get him to a point where maybe they can make a conscious effort to better their lives. And there's people that reach out to me and that have had this passed and are willing to do it. And so you have that. So then the deputies and the sheriff, and they're like, well, what the fuck you want us to do? It doesn't work out. So everything in the system has failed. And then we're all out here because nobody has the balls to maybe, the sheriff should be knocking on the governor's door and saying, it's your people that got my community fucked up. And what do you want me to do?
Absolutely.
Wally don't have the balls to do that. So them guys are fighting that system, right? We're fighting it. The DA is given it. The part that sucks is that I can't figure it out, and I haven't gotten there yet. So the DA and the attorney for the person, whether it's a public defender or whatever, they negotiate the bail, right? I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
Correct.
And then they go in front of the judge. The judge has the authority to say, hey, back to the fucking drawing board. I'm not doing that. But our judges
Right.
ain't doing that. And I don't know why yet.
No.
The judges aren't answering that question, and I think that has to be answered, of why it's so light. I do know this, that so the sex offenders are getting, they're using guys like that we talked about before this started. Like I have not a good friend, but a guy I worked with. He's a friend of mine. He was dating this girl. He was a year older than her. I think he flunked out in 3rd or 4th grade, so he was a year behind. He was a year and a month, something like that, behind him. They started dating in 9th grade, might have been 8th grade. Dated all through. He got her pregnant senior year. He quit school, went to become a roofer. This was back when I was doing roofing. They had the daughter.
Right.
As soon as the daughter was born, the hospital called Child Protective Services. He got put on the sexual list, and he'll be on there forever, right? And now they've been married for 35 years, got 4 kids together. big cows functioning part of society. But the government wants to use that guy to say, oh, if you register him as a sex offender, then we can fix them. They got to have
No,
it
not the
balanced,
case.
because if they truly take them guys out and they take all the guys that are doing this little 6-year with kids, like little kids, then they realize the number, they can't skew the numbers, and that's fucked up, so they use that. And the same way with the drugs. I talked to a guy that was on probation for 7 years. He got drug tested one time. But probation and parole, they don't want to lock them guys up because they don't want to admit that the system doesn't fucking work.
It doesn't work at all.
So that's it.
And I have
It's all
an
numbers.
example. I have an example here as to why the system doesn't work. Okay. This is, and I made a video about this already. This is in regards to Pat Eisenberger. I don't know if he's still on the treatment court team or not, but he was. Back in 2023, when I was going through some things, I was ordered to go to AODA and things of that nature, right? I tried to get in. I tried for months to get in.
What's AODA? What's AODA?
Alcohol and drug assessment.
Yeah, alcohol and other drug assessment. I was ordered to do that, and I couldn't get in, okay?
Do you do that in jail, or do you do that outside of jail?
You do that through
You
the
can do it
department.
in program, right?
Yeah,
In treatment or out treatment
You can
programs.
do it in jail, and you can also do it on the street. You can do it through the Department of Human Services or the Social Services Office. They do it. The lady who was running it last time I knew was her name escapes me right now. I can't remember. Bobby something or other. I'm not sure if she's still the head of it or if she's still a part of it or not. But so Mr. Pat Eisenberger. Now, mind you, at the same time, I was on probation. My probation officer was Brad Eggum, and everyone's going to say, oh, he's a sex offender PO. Yes, he was. And then he transitioned from being a sex offender PO to a regular offender PO, because that's what they call everybody who's on probation. And then he just up and left one day, and I didn't hear from him for months. I called into the office after a couple months of not hearing from him. They said, your agent left. We don't have anybody to replace him. When we get somebody, we'll contact you because you're low risk. I said, fine. So in the meantime, I'm trying to get into this AODA to honor my court obligations. They would not return my phone calls for months and months. And then finally Pat called me, and I got mad, and I was arguing with him on the phone, and he kept saying, I don't deserve your wrath and this and that. Like, well, dude, I'm pissed. I've been trying to honor my court obligations for like 4 months, and you guys aren't helping me do it. And then I'll get punished for it when the judge goes, how come you haven't done this, right? And they'll sit by and go, oh, well, he could have. No, I tried. So then there's that, and then I ended up in jail.
And truthfully, why is a guy going to try very hard? It's
Right.
like, the system failed me. I'm fucked, and fuck them. I guess I'm just getting away with it or whatever. And then to come back because the system failed you, they want to hold you responsible. It's fucked up.
Right.
And that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing from deputies, police chiefs. And I'm hearing it from guys that are on probation and parole. I'm hearing it from guys that are trying to get help. The Washoe County Jail, their fucking whole system's fucked up with Brad fucking Candyman McCoy.
Yeah, he's part of the problem. So when I was in Washoe County Jail, this would have been in July 2024. Okay, I wrote a grievance on Pat Eisenberger because I was still ordered to do the treatment, and I was trying to do it while I was going through a revocation process. And that's a whole different thing I'd like to talk about, is the revocation and what they did with my revocation and withholding evidence and things of that nature. And the burden of proof. People are going to be really shocked to find out what the burden of proof is as far as revocation on probation, extended supervision. It's 0. I filed a grievance because I signed up for the group through the jail, and he refused to allow me in the program, even though they had the program. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see this or not, if anybody screenshots it if they watch this or whatnot, but this basically is a note saying that Jenna Holland talked to Mr. Eisenberg based on my grievance, and he was then ordered to apologize to me, and he admitted that he kept me out of the group, and our prior interactions may have influenced his decision to keep me from the group, even though there was room for me in the group. So he intentionally withheld me and stopped me from being able to follow my court mandated obligations just because he had a bone to pick, because he was mad because I disagreed with him and we had words. And that's not okay. That's part of what's the problem with our system, is that there's very little oversight. And when people do complain about it, it gets brushed under the rug. They cite time frame issues. You didn't file the grievance fast enough, so now we don't have to do anything about it. These sort of things. And it's because people don't know they can file the grievances, or they're afraid to do so because they get punished for doing so.
Right. And
it's not okay.
Right. So I got this guy, right? He reaches out to me. He's like, "Hey, man, I need help. I'm in a bad spot. I live in a shitty spot. I get fucking."
Mm,
And when he's talking to me, I realize that, dude, well, I, I grew up, I was a fucking big beer drinker, big whiskey drinker, and I fought. That was probably my biggest thing, right? I never did any drugs, never did anything. But through the time coming out of the Marine Corps, being all fucking busted up my knees and holy everything, I got addicted to Vicodin, and
right.
so and then they put me on um gabapentin with the Vicodin, and it really fucked me up, put me in some dark times, fucked with my mind. So I had some things going on there. Thank God for my daughter fucking advocating for me, or who knows where I'd be. But anyhow,
God bless you.
they admitted. I don't know if you guys remember 15 years ago or whatever, 18 years ago, they were Wisconsin got busted for over medicating veterans. I
Yes,
was
I
one of them.
remember that.
There was like 10 of us that
Okay.
were really bad, and I was one of them. And then I am
Okay.
one of the reasons why they can no longer prescribe barbiturates uh, and gabapentin together because of what it does with your
Okay.
fucking mind. So anyway, so I go through them dark times, right? So now you would think they find out that I'm got taking double the legal dose of Vicodin and everything else. You would think they would help me get off them, right? Nope. They keep prescribing me
No.
one prescription, and they want me on the
Yeah.
motherfuckers. And then so
Uh-huh.
I cold turkeyed it, and I don't ever recommend that, but all of that. So so I do have a past. It's not a fucking, I mean, fighting and drinking and all of that, but and raising hell, but the system is not set up for any of this. And when I truly think, and from what I hear, human resources in Washoe County tries, but they're all fucked up because, like what you said, Ricky, there's not a lot of oversight, and then there's not a lot of
Nope.
cooperation. The
Nope.
human resources, I believe, when they go to the jail, get treated like second class citizens. The jail doesn't want to take the time. First of all, they don't want to take the time to lock a guy up for a week and have him detox because it's a lot of fucking paperwork and it's a lot of babysitting and it's a lot of shit that goes with it.
Right.
It's too easy for fucking Candyman McCoy to say, 4 o'clock, baby, I'm getting in my take home car and I'm fucking driving my ass home. And I ain't coming. It's Friday and you ain't going to see me till Monday. And I'm sorry you only seen me in the jail once today. And that was because I had to go back there and do something because I don't give two fucks. And then when human resources come over, they don't get the cooperation because everybody's busy. And it's not excuses, right? It's the system has broken down. And how do you so I get this guy and
So
I trying to get him in there and we can't get him in and we can't get him the fucking, and he knows the system, and that's how I start talking to these people. I'm like, well, let's just drug test him. Well, okay, let me see what we can do. So I got a guy calling into his probation and parole. They're on vacation. Well, who's fucking
yep.
overseeing them while they're on vacation? Not nobody. We don't
Nobody.
have anybody assigned to it. And I'm like, what the fuck,
Right.
man? If I leave here, I gotta have somebody do my job. I mean, they're not gonna do it as good as me, but at least they're gonna be looking. And
Right.
then finally, well, if we call him up and he comes to his appointment, he knows he's got a couple of days to get detoxed, and he comes in here and he gets sick. And the first thing he does after he leaves the meeting, he goes and gets high. Or when we call for a random, he knows that it's our phone number and he doesn't answer it, and he comes in 3 days later, and that's all effed up,
Right.
right? So it's like the system's set up. Like the sex offenders are getting off easy, or let's not say sex offenders, let's say the child molesters, the child sex
Child
offenders,
molesters for sure.
because there's people that are sex
Right.
offenders that probably shouldn't really be labeled sex offenders, like my guy that he's been married to the same woman for 35 years, and he's not. And once you get that label, you can fucking never get rid of it. And then
Nope.
you have that, and then we have the guys that truly are monsters. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was this summer they arrested a guy, and he was begging, like he had it on his phone, and he
Yeah.
literally said, "If you let me out, I'm going to do it again. I can't help myself. Lock me up forever." They gave him fucking like 3 years.
So
This is a guy
we
going to
spoke
the
about
judge
that.
on his own.
Yeah.
Huh?
We
Right.
spoke about that, and that's part of the problem. And the reason they
But that
do
guy was
things
in the
like this, and
Argus.
this is my opinion behind that, but the reason these judges do these things like this is because it just allows them to pad their stats with convictions. So when they run for higher office, they can say, "Look how good I did. Look at all my convictions.
Yep,
Look how effective I
I
am."
believe that.
And they don't care or
Right.
pay any deference to the victims, and it's really irritating. Back with the probation and parole thing, though,
The
I
one
have
thing I
something
can
that I've
say,
been.
the one thing I can say for the judges in Washington County, fucked up or not, at least they're consistent.
Yeah, they follow the same
I
script.
mean,
They don't change.
they
Well,
follow the same
we'll
script. They're not
give
hammering
them that
anybody.
one. Ding.
They
One.
are not
Yeah.
hammering anybody.
Just
They're not hammering anybody any harder than they are the average thing. So at least they're consistent. If we could get them to be consistently,
Oh,
right.
Consistency matters, but you got to see
Yeah.
progression, right? You got to
But
be making some
Ricky, I
progress.
think
For
to
sure.
you, to what you're saying is it's a lot of numbers games, right? The judge plays the
Yes.
numbers, the DA plays the numbers, the sheriff plays the numbers. So when I went up to the JD Vance thing, this is kind of crazy. So when I went up to JD Vance coming, I got to stand by the Secret Service guys and we bullshitted, and then there was a cop, right?
I would
Difference
have
between
been
a cop and a
nervous.
deputy. But anyways, so the cop goes, "Hey, I got a question for you." I said, "What?" He goes, "Your name's Sam?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Sam Wood?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh man,
Yeah.
I watch all your videos." And I laughed, and then we were talking and I said, he goes, "I would never work in a sheriff's department." And I'm like, "Really? Like, they make more money than the cops do." And he goes, "My fucking boss is a hired officer and he has to defend his job every fucking day. The sheriffs
Right.
in small communities get on by name. They don't have the people standing up to him that should stand up to him. They've been around. All the businesses are sucking his pee-pee. They're all putting up the signs and the campaigns go, and they don't give two shits. And it's the good old boys club." But he's like,
Right.
"It ain't worth it. Because if you're not," he told me this. He says, "I get promoted because I do a good fucking job and I make my boss look good. And my boss has
Right.
to defend his job every day." He said, "When you get in the sheriff's department, completely different." So now we got everybody in Washington County patting the stats. Our community is being used as a numbers game. Our community's suffering. Our good deputies are suffering. Our businesses are suffering. Everybody's suffering, and nobody's got the fucking balls to put them in a wheelbarrow and say, the system's fucking all of us. We don't
How
live in a
much
big
our
city, for
businesses-
God's sake. We don't live in a big city. We don't have all the crime, but the crime we have affects all of us.
It's enough. How much our businesses are suffering can be evidenced by the fact that Mosier's here in Red Granite. My entire life, up until the last 5 years or so, you would walk in the door of the store and say, "Hey, I need some fishing lures out of the back over there." They would give you the key and you would just go get them in and bring them back. Not anymore. Now they follow you. They pick it for you. They follow you back, and there's literally eyes on you the whole time. And that's not saying nothing against the store, because it's not their fault that they have to protect themselves from people stealing. It's just that's how bad it's gotten. Back with the probation and parole thing we were talking, though, this is another type of thing they do here. They intentionally falsify information to suit what they're trying to do. And my revocation was entirely bullshit. I have right here my revocation hearing request that says I was detained and in custody since February 2nd of 2024, if you can see that, right? This is when I was revocated for 23 CF 73, battery with threat to a judge, law enforcement officer, prosecutor, okay? The number 23 CF 73. Here's another paperwork for the revocation. This is order for sanction, extended supervision, or whatever. 23 CF 73, it says up here, right? Okay. This one says I was detained on February 8th. Not true, because this piece of paper right here says you signed a statement admitting rules violation ST001 and SP0011 of your rules on that I signed on 11/17/2023 on January 8th.
Did they fuck up the date you got off? Did they fuck up the date you got off on a technicality by the truth, Ricky, or is what you're saying the truth?
No, I didn't get off. I absolutely not. I did not get off. I was revocated, and I had to do 10.5 months in Washington County Jail. Get this.
So you were in jail when all that shit happened.
I was in jail when they falsified this paperwork. Okay? My probation agent had
you weren't in jail, right?
evidence. I was in jail. My probation agent falsified evidence saying that, or no, I'm sorry. She didn't say. She had a cassette tape. CD-ROM that she withheld. And when I went to my first revocation hearing, the ALJ says to me, "Are you aware of all the evidence that they plan to use against you and this and that?" And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm not. I would like a list." So he reads you off the list. I have my own list. I was lying just to see what they had, right? So he reads me off the list, and on that list is a CD-ROM with pictures and videos and phone calls and things like that, right? And that wasn't on my list. So I says, "Hold up. I don't have that on my evidence list. And my probation officer, Samantha Schneider, says to him, we were unaware how he could utilize it while he's locked up in jail, so we didn't provide it to him, but we do intend to use it in his revocation proceeding. We immediately adjourned that revocation proceeding. The ALJ stepped back. My agent was reassigned. She no longer works. And first of all, I was in Washera County under probation with a Green Lake County agent. How the hell does that make sense? But she was then reassigned, and she is no longer with the Green Lake County Department of Corrections or Probation and Parole Office because of this
could have been through
situation
proxy
here.
or something.
Right. Because there wasn't enough agents in Washera County. This is the things they do. I can bring you all this stuff. You can read through it all, Sam. I'll drop it off with you whenever I can. You can read it.
I don't have to ask
intentionally
you.
falsified.
Here's the thing. I'm going to tell you just like I tell my kids, and I'm going to tell you just like I told the sheriff. Don't fucking lie to me, because if I find out you lied to me, the wrath you're going to fucking feel is going to be fucking worse than anything you've ever said. I got no reason to doubt you, because I'm working against the system's working against the system in Washera County. I don't know about Wapaka County. I hear that's bad. I hear this is bad. I don't care. Ricky, you know this. You get 100 fucking phone calls a month of people with an axe to grind. If you got evidence, bring it to me. And I told you this. But the system is set up against everything that our community should stand for. Just because you're fucking not a pillar of the community, you're still a part of this community. And if they would embrace the people that are not the pillars of the community and get to understand that where they're coming from and if we can figure out where the system failed, Ricky, then I think we can keep the fucking system from failing 50 other people. You know what I mean? Right. But people have to admit, again, the rules of Sam Wood, I fucked up. How do I fix it? And how does it never happen again? The sheriff ain't saying I fucked up. The county's not, the probation and parole's not saying I fucked up. The deputies have given up because they're just like, unless it's a fucking speeding ticket, they're going to fucking, the whole system is fucked for our community. And that's why no matter where you are in our community, the system is fucked for the 6-year-olds in our community because they're letting child predators out. So we have to fight for them, right? The system's screwed for I'm not a pillar of the community because nobody wants to believe you because of your past, right, Ricky? And then you got the probation and parole.
I've had plenty of people say that.
The probation and parole says the fucking state of Wisconsin doesn't allow me to do my job because they're looking at the numbers, so they're fucked. They work Monday through Friday, and they probably go home and get fucking drunk because they hate their job. And then you got the sheriff. Him and his girlfriend are playing footsie and stealing fucking money from everybody, so they don't give a shit. And the deputies are going, what do you want me to do? Every time I try to do something, I get my pee-pee slapped and my career is ruined and I'm part of this community and it sucks. And then, so you have all of this shit, right? And who does it affect? All of us. But nobody. And it's the same thing with politics. If they can keep us all fucking divided and fighting, then the system fails everybody and nobody gives a shit. I work on an Indian reservation. I work on an Indian reservation, and the one thing that the guy told me, he's the guy that I work with, he's a multi-millionaire now from the oil field.
Building a brand or a business takes time and focus. As an entrepreneur or business owner, there comes a point where trying to manage every detail on your own can slow things down. What the Snark helps take some of that off your plate. They provide custom branding, business apparel, drinkware, and precision decals for vehicles, equipment, storefronts, and even custom home goods. A one-stop shop for all your custom gift needs. Located on Main Street in Wild Rose, What the Snark offers custom solutions designed and supported a clear and professional presentation. Visit their shop or reach out to learn more.
But he said, shared poverty. When we're all poor and we're all sitting in our own little clique, nobody says shit. The minute you start making money or the minute you start making waves, then your community wants to push you away. And the people, your little clique pushes you away. And then, so you have nowhere to go. But the system has failed every single person in Washera County only because of a select few. If we all band together, it affects all of us in different ways. But if you band it together, then there's then the status quo gets feared. The sheriff and them, they would love to shut Sam Wood up and the community, but here's Sam Wood going, it's fucked up and I'm going to fight for it. And for whatever reason, I got started, and now that the people are realizing I'm not going to stop. So maybe I'm the one guy that says I can bring the Ricky Browns, and I can bring the banks, and I can bring the millionaires, and I can bring the fucking poor, and I can stand up for the 6-year-olds, and I can bring the law enforcement in, and I can go to Madison and fight for the probation and parole to help it. And if I got to be that guy, I'm willing to be that guy. But everybody has to look at this. It's fucked up. How do we fix it? And how do we never do it again? And every single person has to do their part.
Right.
How we fix it and how we never do it again is we need to get these people who are entrenched in their positions out. We need new blood to run for office so we can vote new people in with new
here's
ideas.
The thing. You guys see the guy? You guys see the guy that killed the motherfucker that molested his kid running for sheriff? He won the primary. That dude's going to be the next sheriff in that county. You see 100%. Brandon Herrera? I don't know if you guys are big in the 2A community like I am. Now, big gun guy on YouTube, 2A, just won the primary. AK guy.
Nice.
AK guy's going to Congress.
He won the primary?
He won the primary because
I like that.
It tied, and there was a runoff, and the guy that he was running off against is crooked. He's screwing around on his wife. He's screwing his staffer. She killed himself. It's a bunch of bad shit. Brandon Herrera's in. Right. You look at Crockett, she just lost her position. I mean, voting is the biggest thing, especially in the small communities where 25, 10 votes, 100 votes make a huge difference. If you want change, you got to get out and vote. That's where it's at. And I talk to people. I talk to people in every walk of life, and that's what I tell them. You have to vote. I appreciated you making that thing today, Ricky, about guys getting their voting rights back. Because they all have to. You don't have to settle. You're going to be able to vote this year?
Yes, I'm free. I'm not on probation. I'm not on bond. I believe I should be able to vote, even with the case I have going on.
So now you can stand where your money's. You put your money where your mouth is. You have to vote. Good job. But that's what we have to get people to do. Everybody who thinks their vote doesn't matter and everything sucks in our county, you have to vote. The sheriff's not running again, as far as I know. He might throw in his thing in the end.
You fucking better not.
I'm working on trying to maybe figure this out. I'm working on trying to figure this out because I realized one thing. If you get in on a county board or whatever, your hands are kind of tied. I realized that with the county boards. I realized what people's positions are. The sheriff is the most important position in our county. Like, he's the one that runs the laws and everything else,
That high influence.
And you have to, if he doesnn't run, you're going to have to make a choice. If he fucking runs, I'll close my business down here and I will fucking run against him. I just hired a guy here 2 months ago, and I had to fire him, and now I'm still looking, but I might be able to pull this off. But
I'd vote for you.
In order for a guy like me to win, like if all these other people, you know why they won? Because people went out and said, I've had enough, and they voted. If you want the good old boys club, that's, we voted ourselves into this shit. And the only way we're going to get out is we got to vote ourselves out. That's the truth of the matter.
For sure.
We voted our way into this shit, or we sat back and said, my vote don't matter or whatever. Some of these elections in these small counties are decided by 1 and 2 and 3 votes. Think about that.
Yes.
We're not talking. And then you look at it. I think in the first time Trump won, I think it was 50,000 votes in the whole state. That's not a lot of votes. It was when you're looking at how many people.
It was a real slim margin. I want to say it was closer
like
to
50,000 votes. So the voting matters, and I think that you need to expose the shit, and then you need to. I mean, so you're in Red Granite, right, Ricky?
Yes, sir.
So when I first started going to these county board meetings, and I don't want to slander this guy because when I came in, he was what he was. I don't know what he was before that. But his name was Cap, and he represented you, Ricky, on the county board.
Okay.
Cap. I think it was Cap, and I think he was Red Granite. I'm almost positive.
Okay.
But anyways, if it wasn't, he was over in that area. But anyways, so you had Cap. I don't remember. Mike Cap, I think his name was. Do you know how bad Joe Biden was? You know how bad Joe Biden was? I mean, nothing.
We know. We know.
Cognitively, how bad Joe Biden was. Not policy-wise or anything, but cognitively in his mind.
I've seen fence posts more with it.
10 times worse. This guy used to get up in the county board meetings and walk over and sit with his wife in the fucking things. He'd get up and go to the bathroom and get lost. He wouldn't push the buttons. I'm sitting there and they'd be like, they'd have something to vote on, and every single time they'd be like, Mr. Counselor or whatever, how do you vote? And he'd go, I don't even know what the fuck that meant. I mean, they voted for him. It's like, it was so bad. And I'm like, how the fuck does this guy get here? Like,
Right.
So
No
Ricky,
one
your
voted
votes
against them.
are going to impact your vote is going to impact me, because this guy's going to have a one in whatever vote. And so
Well,
anyways,
the lack of
and it's
votes is the
because
problem.
he run unopposed. So
Right.
this time, every vacant seat, because if there's a vacant seat, then the head of the county board can nominate somebody, and then the county board votes on bringing that guy in, right? So we made sure there's no empty seats. People are running for everything. And then I think people that have been there for a long time now have somebody running against them.
I would love to run for public office, but unfortunately, the way the law works in the state of Wisconsin is persons convicted of a felony. That's the disenfranchised persons thing I was talking about earlier. Do not have the right to hold public office, and that's in the state statutes, and it's a law the state legislature has made. I have heard tell, and I don't know how true this is, but I was encouraged to get involved with the Granite Village Board, and I was told by somebody on the board that there is a workaround where felons can become take up a public office and things of that nature.
So take 2 days off.
Well, we got a president for public office, and he's a felon, isn't he?
But that's federal. That's not state.
No, I don't think he was.
Right.
He was never convicted, was he? I don't even know. That's
Trump,
how much.
yeah, he was.
Dude,
convicted.
I've lost so much.
I think he was convicted, but it wasn't.
So here's the thing, Ricky. Figure out where you got to go, and then go to fucking Madison. Knock on your representative's door, and have them guys do it. I go to Madison probably once every 3 or 4 months, and then I have people on speed dial. I don't think they like to talk to me all the time, but
they're probably
I go there, right? I mean, I
This guy again? Damn it.
I go to a county board meeting and they say I can't do this, and I go to fucking Madison and I bring in a whole stack of papers, and that's why I think you guys have seen me at a couple of meetings where I look at Ruth and I say, Ruth, am I right? And she's like, yeah, he's right. So it's like in the beginning, I was held back because I didn't know what to say and what to do, and you go there and you think like. So the town boards are really unique because they'll engage you during your public comments.
Right.
The county board won't do that. And the county board follows the rules. I don't know if the town boards are different. I don't get on the town board level. But the county board, when you have your 3 minutes, they're not allowed to talk to you. They're not allowed to ask questions.
Right.
They're not allowed to do that. And I told you that first day, Ricky, you're going to go there. You're going to say your speech. And I don't want you to be disappointed because they're going to act like you're being ignored, and you're not.
Right.
But you got to learn, just like public records, you got to learn how to get them. You go and you go to the county board and you're talking, and then you have to say, I need somebody to use line item 9 to get me on the agenda of one of the committees, and that's how you got to do it.
So I can't express just how fear isn't the right word, but I was so nervous going into that county board meeting when I sat and spoke, because I know the reputation and the image that I have with people. They see me and they're like, oh, that fucking guy. And I just figured that's how it would be perceived by people. But I turned around and the very first thing I saw was a woman, and I will never remember her name, but I won't forget her face. She says to me, good job, and patted me on my shoulder because she could tell I was nervous. And that right there was enough for me to go, oh, it fucking matters and people will listen. So that encouraged me to continue on this path and try to get involved. That encouraged me to try to stay involved or keep getting involved and get farther involved, because it was a validation of the fact that it's important for us to do this. Even people who are considered disenfranchised like me or other people in the community who've been through some things, whoever sees this, I want them to know it matters. What you have to say matters.
Do you know how much of a statement that meant to that county board that they had to open up all them things and they had to have somebody there with a clicker to make sure we weren't going over on the fire thing, and 270 people in that county board? Think how they thought. They're looking out there going, yeah.
Got to do our job today, fellas.
I guess it ain't just Sam Wood here bitching no more. There's a whole lot of people want answers.
Right.
The animosity is so thick in the room you can cut it with a knife.
The sheriff came in through the back door when they kicked everybody out for their little private meeting. Yeah.
Speaking of that private meeting, that's something I want to address. We need to figure out how we can negate that, because I don't like that. Right?
Can't.
I understand the reason was for his personal records and things of that nature, but they shouldn't be able. I think you're our
Let's put
representative.
this
Why
into,
can you hide things?
because you have, so Ricky, it's called the criminal
I'm
justice
listening.
system. It's called the
Correct.
criminal justice system because it protects the
Yep.
criminals. It's not called the justice
Well,
system. And everybody in this country has
That's a new
rights.
one.
Everybody in this country has rights. Doesn't matter who they
right.
are. And one of the rights is, when it comes down to talking um, about the pay, uh, he's got a right to say his piece, what he's being accused of, and everything else. And then they don't say what's said in there, but they will come out and they will tell you what was what the final outcome was. So
Okay.
everybody has a right. Everybody has a right to discovery. Everybody has all of that.
Well,
You have a right to face your accuser, right? He
yes.
has that right to face
Yeah.
us, but
Right.
you don't. As you go into court, you have certain things that they can't do, and and that's where it's at. So them rules are set up by state statute and everything else. Probably the only way you could get that changed, and I don't know if you ever could, because you'd have to fight the unions. You'd have to fight. Well, here's a prime example. Everybody screamed about letting go of the Epstein list, right? But they just voted
Yep.
down letting go of the who had sexual harassment. And
The slush
overwhelmingly,
funds.
it lost.
Yeah.
So
That was
you got to
disgusting to
remember the
see.
people. It is, but the people setting up the laws, like I said, if you can set the law up to be in your favor, they set it up to be in their favor, and and it's
Absolutely.
the same thing from the top to the bottom. Just like I tell everybody, when um you have a problem and you go to the corporate counsel or you go to HR is not hired by a company or a public thing to expose the company to a problem. HR is trying
To
to
protect
figure
the
out
company.
how to protect the company and
Right.
maybe make this go away or whatever. Ruth's job as corporate
Right.
counsel in Sheriff County is to keep the best interest of corporate counsel. So she's good at her
Right.
fucking job. HR is good at their job in Washoe County. One of the things I'm working, and it did get changed, was the sheriff's department keeps their own personnel records, and the
Huh?
county keeps their personnel records. So they were able
Okay.
to hide the deputy dick pic stuff and everything at the sheriff's department, and nobody even knew that shit was going on. So now it's
Right.
supposed to be that the sheriff's department has to have them records housed in HR so they know. But now I'm talking to some of these deputies, and they're like, if I come out and say something right now in favor of Sam Wood, Wally makes the next 10 months of my fucking life miserable, and then
Right.
could possibly ruin my career and put something in my record. So they're kind of waiting. So I want to. There has to be a way, like you said, that things are a little more public, or Wally can't just decide. Him and his girlfriend can't just decide how they're going to affect a guy's life. And the county board, they go in there. They're supposed to be negotiating in our behalf. Can you imagine? And let's put this into another thing. Can you imagine them negotiating that whole deal in front of 270 people? They fucking people would have been throwing chairs, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so nothing
Yeah.
would ever get done. So they got to take it off, and you elect that person that represents you in that closed session, that he has your best interest in mind. And if you feel they don't, then you need to go talk to them, find out what they
Right.
actually thought. I mean, we had the one guy that voted against it that first night, and he was like, "Oh well, if they would have said that we wouldn't have charged them interest, I would have voted for it." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't you discuss it? They gave you time to discuss it in front of God and everybody, right?" But he didn't
Right.
want to do that. And then the other guy abstained because he didn't want to take a side. You can't fucking abstain because you don't want to take a side. You
No.
abstain because you have a
Pick a
conflict of
side.
interest. You
Right.
have to
Right.
pick a side unless you have a conflict of
Yes.
interest. So they don't even
Right.
know what
Right.
the fuck they're doing. And in that meeting, thank God Jesse caught that one thing with the way it was worded, or that shit would have got passed, whatever resolution that was. But yeah, I mean, the
So
resolution, the memorandum for the sheriff's dog. I think in a jury trial, I probably could have beat Wally, but there's something, you know, the lady, here's the funny part. Remember the lady who got up and called me a cyber bully? Donna
Yes.
Colada?
Yeah. Yeah.
Her fucking name is all over that memorandum. She was involved with making sure Wally could
Right.
get the money for his dog and all that shit. So that's why she didn't want it pushed over and everything else, because her goddamn name is on it. You know where else her name is on? The big beautiful building.
The courthouse?
Yeah.
So I actually
Trump
built
has
the
his big
foundation of
beautiful
that
bill.
courthouse.
We have our big beautiful building. That's what I've nicknamed it. The big beautiful building.
That's falling apart.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
A
go
little
in
bit of
there.
rain never hurt nobody. It's just water, right?
This
I
is
was
so
shocked to
lie.
hear that
I
you.
went into the office of zoning where the building inspector is, and the fucking drywall
Yeah.
is cracking in the new building. I'm like, you want to talk about karma, right? Yeah.
I was shocked to hear you say that when I was in the court. I was talking to you because I put the foundation down for that building. I worked for the Samuels Group at the time, and we did the foundation for the building.
It's cracking
I
like a
guess
You
that
didn't, you didn't
doesn't
do the
say much
drywall,
about-
though.
Well, the reason the drywall's cracking is because the foundation is shifting in the building with all the weight on the sugar sand fucking grounds that we have around here. But I guess that doesn't really speak much to my skills as a concrete former, but it is what it is. I
Yeah,
guess.
but hey,
Maybe I should
it's
get into a
still
new
better
industry.
than the parking lot where I held the duck races.
Yeah, yeah. So you brought up
Yep.
conflict of interest. That's something that's also very problematic in this county, right? The district, or not the district attorney, I'm sorry, the state public defender's office, primarily, and I would like people to understand this, the state public defender's office is not there to get anybody off on charges. They are there to defend the public, and when somebody is charged with a crime, you are no longer considered the public, you are the public enemy. So they are also acting like corporation counsel. They are there to make sure your rights don't get violated so you can't come back and sue the state. But with that being said, the public defender's office is having a huge manpower issue. And one of the things that Washera County likes to use is conflict of interest. They like to say all the time that there's a conflict of interest and we can't assign a public defender to your case to represent you because they represented somebody else who you have in common with this case or something of that.
Because we're in a small
And
community.
it's a problem. Because we're in a
'Cause we're
small
in a
community.
small
Right.
community.
And everyone is telling on everybody else, and that's the problem. So now this person was in concert with this person, so now we can't represent you because you had something to do with them. And my dad just walked in. He's a fan of yours. He watches all your stuff.
Hey, so
Not a fan
again,
of mine, a fan of Sam's.
so
I'm
here we go,
unknown.
Ricky, right? The system is set up to not help the community.
Correct. It's set up to keep itself propped up, and it does it on our
Yeah.
backs or off the sweat of our
And-
backs. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, and this is where you got to get. You can't. Your next sheriff can't be somebody who's going to stand out there and hold fucking brat fries. Your next sheriff has to be somebody who's
No.
going to go to Madison and expose the bullshit. Your next sheriff is going to be
Right.
the guy that goes in there and says, "Hey, I want every single one of my deputies to feel the exact same way they did." And listen, Ricky and Mariano, when these guys put that fucking badge on for the very first day, dude, they wanted to make the community better. Right?
Mhm.
They had no ill intent in their brain. They were going to go out and they were going to clean up and make things right. And now the system has fucked them. The system has fucked you. The
Yep.
system has fucked me. It's fucked Mariano. It's fucked everybody. You know, everybody. But if we stay divided, and that's why I tell everybody, don't look at the R and the D in a small town election. We're not deciding
For sure.
border laws and abortion laws in Washera County. We're going to follow the
Right.
state statutes. We're going to follow the federal. What we need in our county, and it doesn't matter, is who people give a shit. There's Democrats that I cannot stand, but I look at them and they're talking to me about local issues, and it's like, I get behind that. Because
Yeah,
it
for
affects
sure.
them more here, you know? And that's what I'm telling everybody.
Right.
Don't worry about the R and the D. Look at the person. Don't vote for Mike Cap because he's a Republican and you don't even know him, that he's all going, and then fuck gets lost on the way to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Seriously. And look at the person that you're going to elect and say, does that guy have the, he's representing, you know, I'm going to correct you. There's a little over 25, there's somewhere between 23 and 26,000 people in Washera County
Correct.
by the last census. And that's people from newborns all the way up, right? So I think you
Right.
thought it was 50,000. I was like, oh, you really overestimated that. So you take 25,000,
Yeah, I
right?
was just
And
throwing
there's
out a rough
13 people
estimate.
on the board. 13 people on the board. They're really only representing a small group of people.
Right.
Votes count. and these people count, and you're giving them a lot of power. When I
Right.
started this, I was after the guys in the county highway department that attacked me. I got video of George and I attacking me.
Right.
And then when I go there and I talk to his boss, I realize Brian, he's a dumb motherfucker. And he's spending they work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then 2024, he spent $6,000 a day on equipment for the 4 days he worked every single week. If
How?
you average, 6,000, wow, because the subcommittees, and this is the other thing you're going to have to start working on, and people got to worry about. You got the county board, and then they're divided up into subcommittees, and you go to these
Right.
subcommittees, and they're run like a coffee clutch. So they're like,
Okay.
he comes in, once a month, and he comes, and he's like, yeah, we need a new floor sweeper for the county highway department that we just built, the big beautiful building, because the one doesn't get in the corners that we have. Okay, how much is that?
I had a feeling you were going to say corners. I was like, he's going to say corners.
Yeah, $19,000. Oh, that ain't bad. Did you shop around? Oh yeah, they're average about 40,000. I found this one for 90. Okay, yeah, buy it. Oh, we need a new paver. Oh man, I don't know if we can afford that. Oh, but I'm going to be able to use that to pave the parking lot of the new big beautiful building. Little do we know, they're paving it. The 4 guys that are helping them pave it, they look at this parking lot and they go, "Fucking Sam Wood's going to have fun with this one." I'd be like, I go out there in a great big puddle and it's 4 feet from the drain. I'm like, oh, you were this close, and I put rubber duckies and shit out there, and it's like, but they're like, oh, so we're gonna save $42,000 on our big beautiful building because we're gonna do the parking lot, and it's only gonna cost us 26,000 for this new paver. Oh yeah, Brian, you gotta buy that, buddy. Thank you for watching out for our best interest. They never do the fucking math.
I want to know who's getting a slice of that pie is what I want.
All the guys that are who the fuck, who knows? Oh, he goes to the conventions down to the state and everything else. I mean, I don't know who's getting. We weren't getting a slice of the pie.
No, not at all. Speaking
of pie, and it's a little off topic from what you're mentioning right now. Someone had made a mention of like, is my podcast, and how much pie am I getting from Sam Wood to host this podcast and let him be a guest? I just want to put this out there that out of these gentlemen here in front of me on the podcast, everyone that's brought here is brought here because of community best interest, right? I mean, I can bring guests on for whatever the reason is.
My wife sponsors you.
Sam doesn't pay me.
Here's the thing.
Sam doesn't pay me.
Here's the thing. What people don't know, Mariano, who's the one person that when you were looking for sponsors, she stood up and said, I'll give you a chance because I want you to be involved with the community.
Right.
That was my wife, not me. If you ever meet my wife,
and that's the biggest thing that
my wife, it's got to suck to be my wife, and the county benefits by it. You know why? Because I'm out there kicking everybody's ass. My wife's following behind me going, donation for you, donation for you, donation. But we give out all of this stuff. But here's the thing, right? I'm community minded, and it's all because of my wife. And I've been lucky enough that I've went from fucking eating government cheese and fucking shit and my mom being a waitress when I was growing up and fucking holes in my clothes to realizing when I was 12 years old, I had to get a job. And I picked pepinos next to the fucking migrant workers and all of that and sold them at the pickle station in Watoma. So I know all of this, right? I've worked all this up. I went to be a Marine Corps and I picked rock when I was in high school, and I went to the Marine Corps and I was burning human shit in half a 55-gallon drum. And I said, at least I'm not picking rock. And then I get a job doing this other stuff. And I'm going, well, at least I'm not burning shit. Everything I've ever did is to benefit myself. And I came to North Dakota. I borrowed $750 from my mom. And now I'm a fucking millionaire. I'm probably a multimillionaire. I don't know how it's crazy how they do the math. I mean, this way I'm a millionaire, and this way, I don't have $1 million, but somehow I'm there. I bought land and I bought everything else, and I've taken the money that I've made, and as much as I can give back to the community, I could probably give more. But I like guns and I like I like expensive shit. So I spend some of that money on myself, damn it. I mean, if I got my first thing was, so here, wait. I make all this money, right? And I say, I've always wanted a fucking Barrett 50 cal. So I bought one. It's like $12,000, and then you go on and you're like, and I start realizing I like a little more expensive shit. And I just bought the baby Browning machine gun 50 cal fully automatic. Well, I didn't buy the fully automatic,
Yeah.
but it cost me $26,000. I got a fucking one and semi-automatic. But
Just
along
don't
the
mount
way,
it to the
too,
back of the Tesla.
Yeah.
and all, I buy the Gatling guns and all the cool shit, right? Growing up, I didn't have the money to buy a Henry 22, and that was always the status symbol. Now I own like fucking 30 some Henrys. And I'm not bragging, right? But I'm saying that I try to give back time and money. Everything in this world is divided up into two things: time and money. You're going to give up your time for money, or you're going to give up your money to get some time. So Ricky, he says, I don't have the resources like Sam does. So he gives up
Nope.
his time. I go in and I go back and, I think I probably just should have a tracker on every one of my vehicles to know when I cross the Wisconsin state line. Oh, fuck, it's going to be a miserable 2 weeks for Sam County because he's got all these open records requests. And for 2 weeks, I'm going to expose shit. And then I go away for 3 or 4 because I trade my time for my money. But when I go back, I give to the community. So either give your time or your money to the community or both. But to say that I bought my way onto this podcast, dude, I was talking shit. I mean, if people are telling me I could probably sell shirts and we could donate it to the community or something if I could get shirts that say, what would Jessica say?
Buy one. I would buy one.
Right?
So
Every single person
to
that's
touch
come onto
base.
my side gets attacked or not attacked. She needs to let up on
Just,
my
just,
side.
just, just to finish off on my point is that there's no slice of the pie here, right? I invited these gentlemen onto the show because I feel that they're doing remarkable things in the community. I've known Ricky Brown since I was a teenager in Red Granite. I moved to Red Granite back in 01. We both got into some trouble, for separate issues or whatever, but we found our way. We found our way. As far as Sam goes, seeing all the stuff that he has in the community, it's going to be obvious that I'm going to want you as a guest on the show because you're making an impact, right? You're doing something.
For
You're not
sure.
just talking about it. You're actually out there doing something.
People are talking.
Right. They're definitely talking now. They're definitely talking now.
Yeah,
but I just want to state that these guys are on my show and nobody's paid here. Ricky's not being paid by Sam.
Nope.
I'm not being paid by Sam. If anything, I might owe Sam a couple dollars because he's giving me a lot of advice. So maybe I need to pay Sam for some advice.
There you go.
Therapy or something.
The thing is, and this is the thing, right? So I give you some advice. I gave Ricky some advice in the beginning. It's equal opportunity, right? I know that I beat my head against the wall. So I started this fight probably 11 and a half years ago. And I started fighting against the state and then the county. And there's 11 years of this culminating. The system has created Sam Wood. And Ricky, I don't fucking call you and tell you what subjects to pick on. I don't tell Mariano what he can have. I don't do none of that. I told you in the beginning, you're going to be scatterbrained and you're going to go after all of this stuff and you're going to want to be an expert at everything, but you're going to, at some point, you're going to stumble onto something that means something and you're going to take it and do it your way. Your stuff is in Red Granite. Mariano, I tell you the same thing. And you've decided that, hey, I want to be a community activist, a voice. And that's how you got started, right? And you're doing the podcast, and, so it doesn't matter. There's a lot of people now that are stepping up. I got the deputies talking to me. I got other people. I got business owners. I got business owners that are like, when I first started exposing all of this shit with Deputy Dick Pick, they're like, I will never have another brat fry for Washoe County. And now it's like, and I'm like, good, fuck them guys. But now that I'm more into it, I say, you know what? I don't know why we have the brat fries, because I think we already support with our tax dollars. So, and if we're going to have a brat fry, then we should have a brat fry for something in our community that's going to help our community. The sheriff's department should want to step up. I heard this. Don't know if it's true. Maybe someday when somebody makes it as the sheriff and wants to dig into it, that they pay overtime for the brat fries, the deputies. I heard that they did a corn roast and they paid the deputies to go pick the corn. Now, is that the deputies' fault? Probably not. They're taking advantage of it, right? Everybody takes advantage of overtime. It's the leadership. But when the leadership is stealing money and buying guns cheap and doing all the shady shit, if there's no leader, can you imagine letting your kids run amok? Fuck, you'll end up with Sam Wood. I mean, my mom was working all the time. I was feral as shit. I'm lucky I wasn't worse. But here's the thing, right? back in my day, I think we were all feral. We had to be home when the street lights. It took the community raised the kids.
Same.
Without
Yes, takes
having
a
everybody
village.
in my community giving a fuck and knowing my mom, I would have fucking been way worse than I was. So that's where we get back to. They have us so segregated now, and they have everybody's nose stuck in that goddamn cell phone so much, or their computer, that the kids aren't outside playing and everything else. You know,
Right.
that kid fishery, that was awesome. I think in my little group, my son, hats off to him. He did a lot, set up the tent and everything. I think you went to our tent. We had like 10, 15, 12 kids running around. But
Yeah. It was
you know,
an
that's
amazing time.
yeah.
Community.
So
Now's
that
the time for community, man. Now's the time for people to get back
100%.
together and let's repair the damage and let's grow faster and greater than we've ever had before.
By
I mean,
exposing
the
the damage,
possibilities are endless.
I think we have pretty much every walk of life in Washington County going, this is fucked up. What can I do? There's a lot of
It's
Ricky.
everybody.
But Ricky, there's people that are coming to you, and hopefully you're giving them a voice. And Mariano, they're coming to you, and they come to me, and hopefully as a community. I think as a community we have a voice finally, and the good old boys club and the status quo that we allowed to happen. Right? I mean, I never voted for Wally. But I
I
did.
didn't.
There's a video out there of me helping Wally get body cams for the guys, right? And everybody's like, "Oh, you made a video with him, you supported him." I'm like, "Go watch the video." I'm standing right next to the guy, and I
Right.
say, "Hey, listen, I didn't vote for this guy. I don't agree with him. Blah blah blah. But the body cams are
Right.
good for the community. We need to get them, and that's what you need to
Yep.
do." If Wally was getting his
So
ass kicked tomorrow, and I drove by, I would probably pull over, help him, and then when I was done, I would kick him in the fucking balls and say, "That's what you owe me for getting you out of that right there." You know, I don't know, but you have to. He's still
I'm just a media guy, so I'm just gonna pull out my phone and just
right.
yeah,
But
World Star.
a lot of the
From-
damage we have done. Thank God we could expose it and we could do it. Like you said, Ricky, you started out. You were going for that library thing, right?
Yep.
And then you
Yep.
find out. And here's exactly, Ricky, was it what it was portrayed to be in the community and what everybody was talking about?
About 20% of it was.
So it's 20%
truth.
truth, and the rest was the 20% truth and 80% manufactured bullshit one way or the other, right? So
Right.
Ricky
The
goes there,
kernel of truth
and you get
that was in there. The kernel of truth that was in there is the fact that the village board, in fact, was reducing the library's budget. The village board here also reduced the budget across a broad spectrum of programs because the money just wasn't
correct.
there. And it was
Correct.
it was twisted and made to be something it wasn't because one individual wanted attention. And I called them out for it
And
in the
if you
meeting.
wouldn't have dug into it, your opinion would have been wrong.
Right.
And then you got a bunch of other people, and then here's the other part, right? You can show people the facts, and then they're still mad, and you're like, "Why are you mad?" Because
why?
here's the facts. It's black and white, but they still
Right.
can't believe it.
That's where
It's crazy.
knowing how to read comes into play.
That's where being a guy
Right.
who can read
And
helps. Yeah, that's where that's come from.
being a guy who read, and then Ricky goes out there and he
Yeah.
puts his voice out there, and then some of the people that were attacking you were like, "You guys should really know better," and Ricky's got the facts.
Right.
He's like,
Good job, Ricky.
they cut all the budgets because the money ain't there. You guys don't want your
not
taxes
there.
raised, and then
Oh.
what you guys were saying was cut wasn't even the true number.
No.
Rumors. It's
No.
rumors.
It's attention seeking is what it was. And it was honestly causing a problem in my community because it was literally turning people against one another. I seen people and I heard people who've known each other my entire life who are now at each other's throats because you say it's one way and I say it's another way, but nobody had any facts around the situation. So with that being said, I want to encourage people to go to the village board meeting. If you're from Red Granite and you're watching this, go to the village board meetings. I haven't personally attended one.
I think your meetings are recorded, are they not, Ricky?
Last I spoke with the village president, they were trying to get them up on the internet. They are recorded, but they were trying to get. I wanted to say live streamed them.
Ricky, did you start a YouTube channel?
Oh, my videos are recorded. Yes.
No.
I have a
Did you
YouTube
start
channel.
a YouTube channel? I'm calling your town board out. Did you start a YouTube channel?
Yes.
Was it hard?
Well, for me, yeah, I don't understand technology, but once
you
I
have
got
a town
into
board that's telling you have a town board that's telling you they're trying to film the meetings. That's
Correct.
bullshit. Film them. put them up. That's
So I
bullshit. It's an
also
excuse.
no. What
I
what
went
the
to the
issue
county
is the
board. They
way.
have the county board meeting. Now all of the committees are now taped and made public, so you can watch every
Yes.
single subcommittee and educate yourself in Washington
Thank you,
County.
Jesus.
I pushed for that. I said, and then
So
the same thing. Well, and I'm like, hey, if Sam Wood could do a Facebook Live and call a sheriff out and everybody else out on his fucking bullshit, you can record a
right.
fucking meeting. All you have to do is say, and Bart Peterson, hats off to him to say, well, I want it done in 30 days or whatever timeline. He put a
Right.
timeline to it and it got done.
And
The county, the
implementation
town
time.
board, the town board can film the fucking meetings. It happens this fast. If they have any problems, tell them you can get with Mariano. Mariano will help them set up a YouTube channel, and that's it, done.
So one of the things that one of
It's
the
like
things.
this. It's like this. I put this cap in my hand, right? And I do this to my guys when they say I'm trying. I'm trying. I say, okay,
Yeah.
try to pick up that cap. And they go, I'm like,
Right.
you didn't try. You fucking did it.
Right.
This bullshit. You either do it or you don't. Take trying out of your vocabulary. Take I'm
Correct.
sorry out, because I'm sorry is the words you learned when you were little from your mom that made everything better. And half the time you say the shit you don't even. No, go to the
More
town
often
board,
than
and I'd be
not.
pushed to tell. I want them all out on YouTube, because then there's no he said she said shit. You watch it.
Right.
Done.
So one of the things that was told to me by the president is that they're shopping around for somebody who can facilitate recording and storing the videos and things of that nature, because whoever they had doing
Tell
it
them
was no longer doing it or whatever. And it's supposed to be in the process.
You
I
don't
don't
have to
disagree. I
store
don't disagree.
shit.
It's
Listen,
dragging their
they
feet.
don't have to store shit. They don't have to
I know
store
that.
shit. You put it on
YouTube will store
Facebook
it. I know
Live, and
that.
that's some of our YouTube. You put it on YouTube
Right.
Live, and YouTube stores it for you. They don't have to buy any
Right.
special shit. They don't have to. All they need is the damn cell phone to get started, and that's it.
Right.
Click. And that's it.
Click YouTube.
So another thing
Done. It's
Another
saved.
thing that
The whole
happens with
video
this
is
village.
live.
Another thing that happens with this village is I submitted a records request and I didn't get it because it ended up being too expensive. We've talked about this with my finances and everything. I was told it was $36 roughly for the forms that I wanted, and then it was another $67 or $68 for a fee for looking
Processing
them
fee.
up and for the lady to do it and all this other stuff. And I said I'd like to see the
Okay.
policy, and they said the
So
policy is
I wouldn't
available
spend
on
the
the village board
$36 on
website.
that. I'd tell them it's going to take zero time, because you already said that it cost this. So it's going to take basically zero time. But go to them and say, you know what? I'll give you $10 to show me the fucking policy. That has to be written
I asked
down in
for the
policy, or
policy.
they can't charge you.
I
Huh?
asked for the policy. They told me the policy was available on the village board website, and I didn't find one.
It doesn't
They
matter.
just made it
It's the same.
unachievable.
No, they cannot
Wow.
say it's on the village board website. Go look at it. That is illegal. That is like when you
I
ask
get it.
an officer. If you go ask an officer to say, what is your name? And they say it's right there. That is, you just tell them, listen, I can't read it off the computer. I have no access to it. They're telling you that
Right.
they have to, it's an open records request, do it in writing. And then when they don't do it, we'll fucking figure it out. We'll sue the son of a bitches if we have to, because they cannot, they can't do that. Go to
That's
Madison
unfortunately
and
where
get
I
the
think.
open, Ricky, go to Madison, get the open records law from your state representative and shove it up their ass and say, no, you cannot do that. You're talking to a person that has no clue what the statutes are, and they have no
Right.
clue what the policy is. And if it's not written
Right.
in the policy, they cannot charge you for it. I don't pay for any of the time. I think they had to hire another part-time person to look up open records requests, and Sam Wood was doing so many. And the sheriff's department is $1 a page, and some of the villages are this or that, but they have a policy. I don't pay for their time. You're already paying for their time. It's called your tax dollars. I don't think they can
Well,
double
that's so.
charge you for their time. And if
This
they
was my
can, they have to
position
have
on
it
it.
in policy.
This was my position on it. I says to the lady, I filed my open record request, and it took over a week for them to get it. And when they contacted me and said they had it, I said, okay, I'll come get it on Monday. And she says, okay, it was roughly $36, $37 for the copies that I wanted. And then it was another $67, $68. It was just over $100 for the, some sort of fee, they told me,
I
right? A
spent
processing
$200
fee or
on a
something
stack
of
like
that
this and
nature.
had to plant the tree.
So I went,
Bullshit.
I went,
They're fucking
I
liars.
went
these
to,
dudes.
I know that. I know that. I requested
They
a
lied to
policy.
you.
They were trying to make it unattainable for me because they know I don't. It's a small town. They know I don't have the money to pay that, right? But I went to Washera County and I filed an open records request, or I filed for the minutes from court, and they had it ready for me in 10 minutes. They said, give us the case number and we'll tell you how much it'll cost. They said $16 and something cents. I paid it. She called me 10 minutes later and said, come get your records. The lady here in town tried to tell me,
Washera County is rock stars. The DA sucks. He'll fight against a lot of shit. I got some things I got to work him on. But Washera County, Coloma, all of them, they really were rock stars. So Red Granite is blowing smoke up your ass. I do believe
yes.
I heard. So you have the village president, and his wife is what?
His wife is my cousin. She doesn't work for the village. His sister is the record keeper in the village.
So whose sister is?
The village president's sister is, she's one of the secretaries or record keepers in the village.
Yeah.
And she's the one that told me, Krista is the one that told me, I have to pay for the copies and then I have to pay for her time to look up the copies. And I said, isn't that what your salary's for? That's what we pay you to do.
Maybe when I'm home next time, I'll go request the same shit. Since she's already looked it up, she ain't going to have no time into looking it up when I request it. So I'll only have to pay for the documents.
No, they sent me notice and said,
we can win it too.
They sent me notice and said it's beyond 30 days. And now I can no longer receive the records I requested because it's been beyond the 30-day time.
I don't know if that's the case either, because I've had them. They wait all the time for me to come pick them up. They notify me they're ready, and I just tell them, here's the thing, right? If there's nothing to hide, or they realize that you know the law more than they do, yeah,
they stall.
I would go in there. I would go in there and say, if it's so easy they've admitted that it's easy for them to find that policy, right? So it shouldn't take them no time, and they have to supply it. Do it in writing.
Told me it was online.
So you have to go, I want any and all policies pertaining to cost of open records requests for the village of Red Granite. They have to give it to you. By law. They can't fucking tell you it's on the website.
I told them to tell me the policy, and they wouldn't tell me. They said it's online. Look it up. It's on the village board website, and it's not. I looked.
Can you film that interaction?
I did not film it, but I should. Speaking of filming, that's another thing.
You need to go in. Huh?
Why can't we film our own court proceedings in Washera County? That's a question I have that I plan to look into.
So that's
now,
on the statute. That's a state statute.
Okay.
No phones or cameras can be on.
So there it falls into this, right? So it falls into the courtroom is the judge's jurisdiction. So when time when I said I had that interaction with Dutcher because he wanted my wife to wear a mask in his courtroom, I agreed with him 100%. You can require my wife to wear a mask in your courtroom. There can't be any policies. You can have her removed from your courtroom, but once she's removed you from your courtroom, you can't go in the fucking hallway and intimidate her because now you're in my goddamn hallway. I respect your courtroom. You fucking respect my hallway, right?
For sure.
So it's the judges. Yeah. It's the judges. That is his. He's an elected official or whatever, but that is his domain. It's the judge's courtroom. So whatever rules, I think as long as he doesn't have anything crazy, like tells everybody you got to come in there and be half naked or something. But as far as a lot of his policies, if he doesn't want cameras, I don't know where that lies. I never went and looked in Madison to see where the state statutes are. But I do know there is some laws about cameras being involved and policies.
The statutes are posted. And then here's the statutes are posted.
Just because it's a matter of PCI compliance. They have to protect confidential information. Yeah. There might be information that pertains to an investigation or a case that they can't have get out.
You can go into the county courthouse and film, but you can't go past the locked door. So I believe that's why they lock the doors to the courtrooms when they're in session and they have the bailiff. I don't think they leave them wide open. They're locked doors.
No, they're closed.
And that's how they get away with it. So you can't go in behind locked doors because of confidentiality. If you can see it from the public lobby, the public area, you can film it. But you can't because of confidentiality. He's right. It's the same thing in a hospital. You know, everybody has a right to their... And that's where it gets what the sheriff has his confidentiality when he was in that closed meeting. So, yeah. And they go behind the locked door, so you can't.
The right to free press doesn't apply to that at all, or especially if it's your own court proceeding. These are the things I'm going to look into and see if I can figure out exactly what the law is around that, because there is things that happen in these
No,
courtrooms.
trust me. If I could have filmed the day I went in for feelings court, I would have. So
I remember that one.
there is some things there, and I think when you dig into them and you take them at face value, you'll be like,
Face
yeah,
value.
it fucking pissed me off, but I see where they get that rule from. And then and I think that's where you struggle with a lot of stuff, Ricky, is you have the passion and you think
Yeah.
everything should be this way. And sometimes you got to be like, why are they making me do this? And then you can say, all right,
Yeah.
I can see that. You know.
Well, I have the ability to do that. I'm pretty good and objective about something. Some things though, I just get off on a tangent on, and it's hard to reel
Hey,
myself back in on.
listen. I hope fucking shitbird Sheriff Wally doesn't watch this podcast or one of his fucking people, because here's the thing, and I tell everybody this, dude. When I went off for whatever reason, if you guys watched when I went off on the sheriff in that meeting,
Yeah.
and literally that was because I got like 5 minutes before that meeting is when I finally, and I've been trying to get the deputy dick pic stuff for like a month or two. And
Yeah.
like 30 minutes before I went into that meeting, I got that report. I still have it here on my desk. I look at it all the time. It motivates me to keep me going. But I got that.
Yeah.
And then I realized that the sheriff and Stacy and all these fucking sick sons of bitches covered this up. And I told them, and then and I'm leading him into this conversation when I looked at Jim Lutz, and I says, did you report this crime to the state and to the feds? Because every crime has to be reported. And he said,
Right.
no, if there was no victims, there was no crime. And just because you don't have somebody come forward for whatever reason doesn't mean you don't have a victim. And I lost my shit. And truthfully, if the fucking sheriff or any of them fuckers had any balls, they should have got me for disorderly conduct. That's
because
one
that
of the
would have
laws
opened up.
that's
They can't do that because it would have opened them up to an investigation as to why they had to arrest you to begin with.
right. So they've talked there. I request, sometimes I go in there and I just request any and all emails with Sam Wood's name on it.
Yeah.
Just fucking throws them for a loop, right? That's when I got it, when they labeled me as anti-government and blah, 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 and it's like, and the county board was
Pro
like,
accountability.
yeah, and then the county board is telling, goes to Ruth, and they're like, why did you give him them emails? And she's like, because he knows how to request them, and I had to, and so you do that, right? So then I requested ones from the sheriff's department, my name on it. And Brad, the Candyman McCoy, has this fucking great big long email sent to the county. Like, it's just disrespectful, and my family, he's picking on me, and it's slander.
Yeah, poor picked on Brad.
Poor Brad. And, I can't believe somebody should have stopped him in that meeting. It's like, yeah, you should have, motherfucker. You got a badge and you're a sworn deputy. And he's like,
Yeah, but he doesn't have a spine, though, is what it sounds like.
Anything the county can do to stop him? And basically they said, we're not fucking hiring you attorney to fight Sam Wood. And I'm going to tell you something. First of all, you're a public official, so defamation of character is a completely different animal. When the big bad Jessica comes on there and you're slandering, she doesn't even know what the fuck slandering means, and she definitely don't know what the fuck slandering means. If a public official can arrest anybody for slandering, Donald Trump would have fucking 75% of the goddamn country in prison right now, right?
Well, and this ain't England, where they do that shit in England.
Yeah, right, yeah.
That number's a little off, because there's a lot more Donald Trump fans than that.
Yeah, but there's Donald Trump fans that don't agree with everything he says, and if he says something against, so he says, so they told Brad McCoy, feel free to do it, but just so you know, he's going to have what they call discovery.
Yeah. As to why they arrested you and what they had to do.
Yeah, because then it opens up all their private messages. It opens up their fucking phones and everything.
Right.
So yeah, that's so I used the law against them too, right?
Touch back on the village board. In fairness, the president, Jim Erdman, does a lot for our community, but there's also a lot in our community that needs to be corrected. And I think the chief of police in town is one of them. He practices targeted law enforcement. He picks on certain people and only certain people. And it's a problem to where it's made people uncomfortable in the community to where when we see the police car in town, we hide.
Can
And
vote
it's,
him
we
out.
shouldn't be like that. That's what I'm trying to get people to do because he has to go.
Vote out the village president. You got to get everybody in there to say, hey, listen, we're going to vote it out. I can't run for village board, but I got a cousin who can, or I got a sister. Same bullshit you guys pull. We're going to start using it against you because Ricky's got a voice. And when we get there, Chief,
Well,
you're going to be fucking unemployed.
Chief's got to go.
Because you don't have to have a reason to fire that motherfucker. Wisconsin's a right to work
Can
state.
Kyle
They
still
can say, hey, we're done with you.
Can he still complete? Can he still complete what's required of him, like physically?
To
I
be
mean,
a
he's kind of a
police
bigger
officer?
guy.
There's physical requirements in order to be a police officer. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
but
he
I
can.
don't think he has to be. I don't think he has to be a sworn law enforcement officer. Because now you got to remember, go in there and look and find out if he's a chief or a town constable. For a long
He's
time,
chief
Sheriff
police.
County had town constables.
So
Yeah, but
when
does he call that, or is his job title actually a constable?
when he testified against me in court, he identified himself as chief of police of Red Granite Police Department.
Doesn't fucking matter. I can identify myself as Joe Shit the Ragman. It doesn't make me Joe Shit
That's
the
a
Ragman.
lie on us. That's a lie on a sworn testimony.
You can identify as a woman and walk into a woman's bathroom nowadays. You need to look
Yes,
and
but
find
that's
out what
different.
his requirements. If there's
That's different than
physical
saying you're the
requirements,
chief of police, right? He
what?
identified as the chief of police in the village of Red Granite. So saying you're a woman and you're not is different than saying you're a cop.
You got Egan right now telling everybody he's the chief deputy slash you got the sheriff and then you got the undersheriff. He's telling everybody he's the chief sheriff, he's chief deputy slash undersheriff. He ain't. The chief deputy answers to the county board. The undersheriff answers to the sheriff. You can't answer to two separate people. You can't have two jobs. Sheriff County no longer has the position of undersheriff. It's not funded by the county board.
Okay. Well, that's
A
probably a
sheriff
good thing.
could be
One less
elected.
person in our way.
A new sheriff could be elected this time around, and he could say, you know what? I don't need the money, so I'm going to take my fucking salary and fund an undersheriff. And they would still have a chief deputy. Egan's saying he's both so he can play both sides. You know, I'm buddy with the sheriff, and I'm buddy with the county board, and I hope he's doing good and everything else. But, yeah. So I would look into what the duties are of the chief. Because it's the same thing when I exposed all that bullshit with No Show Vaquero and Jim Lutz in Coloma and stealing over $100,000. It came down to they had no policy. They had no job requirements. They had no job duties. So she basically said, I don't have to do a fucking thing. I can sit at my house and rub Wally's feet because he's my boyfriend and just stack my things. So you have to go in there and get the policies and everything else for what his job is. There probably is none, is what I'm telling you, or there's very little.
I would imagine there's not.
Yeah.
Red Granite is very much an old.
Everything has been run on the good old boys club and handshakes and everything in all of these towns.
Yes, correct. And it still is. And then, that's why half the village board is related to one another, or they're friends of one another, because it's nepotism is the problem. And we can't have that. We gotta get away from that.
So now you got to start finding people that want to run for office.
Well, I've tried to propose that. I've proposed that idea to a few people, and they don't want to do it because they don't want to be. Honestly, they're afraid of people like you, Sam. They're afraid someone's going to come after them because they stepped out of line and they had to do something or had to make a backwards deal with somebody, and then they're going to be under the gun. And they should be, right?
They should have to make a backwards deal. And here's the thing, right? If the meetings are all recorded, and the same thing, right? When the people take them positions, they take them for whatever reason, just like the deputies and your chief. If he's a dirty cop or doing whatever, he probably, let's assume he didn't start out that way. He got power hungry.
No,
he's allowed to do
guy.
it. You know, and that he's riding out his retirement, and I'm untouchable, and blah blah blah. You know,
that's exactly where we find ourselves.
And as soon as you find out, I mean, there's communities out there in our county. Like, I feel lucky to have the officer that we have as our chief in Wild Rose. I think Watoma's very lucky. I think Plainfield is fairly lucky. I don't know that guy. I don't hear a lot. I do hear a lot of complaints about the chief in Red Granite. But truthfully, I don't got no skin in that game. It's the same thing when they reach out to me from Wapaka, and I'm like, I got so much time and effort into shit that I'm doing here. I give two fucks about Wapaka right now, you know.
Right.
Right,
So yeah,
we'll say a prayer for you. I
yeah,
at least let I let Justin come on here and advocate
yeah.
for
I
what's
watch this
happening
stuff.
in Wapaka. At the least, that's what I can do is open up my show.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, for whatever reason that people run, and hopefully as it goes, Ricky, hopefully, your dad likes watching my videos. Fuck, let's get him to run for the village board.
Me and my dad are carbon copy, kind of. He can't run either. The apple didn't fall so far from the tree. I should say.
Right? So no,
Hopefully it's
maybe,
different with
but
my
and
son, but I
here's
hope
the
to
other
stand as
thing
a
too.
better example.
So by me exposing everything and doing all of that and keep going, we had more people running opposed on the county board. And I think if this new county board, if we get a lot of these guys through, you're going to see some big changes because the votes are going to be. And here's the thing, right? It's not Republican and Democrat. We're fucking sick of this bullshit, and we're going to make it right.
It's the
The way
haves
that's
and the
what you got to look at
have-nots.
it.
It's the haves and the have-nots, and the people who were in these elected positions that have been entrenched in them for decades or a decade or more, or at least a half a decade,
But
are the haves,
but
and everybody else is the have-not.
But Ricky, fuck that. The internet is leveling the playing field.
Absolutely,
I mean, if I
100%.
ran, I got a chance to run for sheriff. I think I got a bigger fucking opportunity than anybody who's never been in law enforcement in Washoe County, and maybe it'll come out. But we have a guy that's literally up on trial in this country. He's on trial for murder, for killing the guy that molested his kid. And he is going
Right.
to probably be the next sheriff. We have Brandon Herrera. We
Good.
have all of these people that are coming
Shout out
forward.
AK
And I
guy.
think these guys, this guy,
Well,
we're watching them. We're watching them and we're realizing that this is their true
you want to
self.
bet?
You put it out there. Oh, now we got to
This
stop
is
the cussing.
Xavier. This is
Hey,
Xavier. He's probably got a mouth like a
Special
pirate.
guest.
He'd probably make you blush.
right?
This is the reason. This is the reason I want to continue the fight. Is hit people, kids like him, my sons, your sons, everybody else's sons who don't have a choice and don't know what's going on. And I don't
Right.
want them to have to grow up and deal with the things that people allowed to just happen, and we couldn't stop until it was too late. And
Yeah.
I aim to make
Yeah.
changes and do what I can for that.
Yeah, that's and whatever reason you do, that's what you got to have the reason for. I'm out there. Truthfully, I'm fighting for every single fucking person in Washoe County.
Yeah.
Every single person, from the babies to the people that are retired to the people that are in the nursing homes that have dementia and they have everything else. And it didn't start out that way. It didn't. My thing was a personal grudge against George Nye at the Washoe County Sheriff's Department. I'm sure if we could go back in time, there's a whole lot of people that would allow Sam Wood to teach his nephew how to sell firewood, because that's how all my shit started, was just over a firewood sign. Then I
They would have
find
kept
out
that guy completely
Oh,
away
yeah.
from your business.
Yeah, they would have said, none of them had that firewood sign, because then we found out they built the road on my property. Washoe County's 6 feet on my property. And then they tried to take my property and I fought them. And then they tried to do numerous things. And then they tried to say the land was contaminated. And it cost me, luckily, it cost a lot of money, but I had the balls and I had the money, the resources to fight. And a lot of people don't have that, right? But I think I've set precedents to say you can stand up and you can fight. They had us in mediation, and we had a liberal retired judge that was in there supposed to do the mediating, and I could tell he was liberal, and he said something about. So when it started out, I was trying to make it, I was like, oh, it's going to cost me another fucking 50,000-60,000 to go to court. So I told the state of Wisconsin, I'm like, listen, to make this go away, I'll do I think it was a $15,000 donation. I'll donate $5,000 to the Wild Rose School Forest Fund. I'll donate $5,000 to the veterans. If you guys haven't read the book, The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump, you should do it, because he did the flagpole thing.
I haven't read
right?
that one yet.
You should do it,
I
because he made
intend
a
to
deal.
read it.
They
It's on
told
my
him
list.
they told him his flag was he couldn't have a flagpole that was 30 feet tall in front of his place, and he kept getting fined, and then it was like to $100,000, and he said, "Listen, I'll donate, $100,000 to a veterans fund." And here's the thing, right? A fine you can't write off on your taxes. A donation you can. So he got to write the $100,000 off, and he said, "And I'll put a 15-foot flagpole up." And they said,
Yeah.
agreed. They signed it. He brought in dump trucks, made a 15-foot mound, and put a 15-foot flagpole on it, and took his money, gave it to the veterans, and got it right off. So I was trying to work a deal where I would donate, and then the state came back, and they're like, "Oh, we want you to donate to this." And I said, "No." And every time they would come back, I would knock my money down. I said, "Well, now I'll donate $10,000." And they would come back, and they'd come back, and I go like, "Oh, now I'm going to donate $7,500. The guy goes, "You can't keep going lower." I said, "Yeah, I can." And their big thing is they wanted me to admit guilt by paying a citation. And I said, "I will never a forfeiture." I said, "I will never pay a forfeiture. I'll do a donation." And he goes, "You're never," I think I had it down to $2,500. I said, "I'll only donate $2,500 to the school, and I won't pay a forfeiture." And the judge, this little judge goes, he said something about, "You're never going to leave here without paying a forfeiture." And he goes, "I don't know why you're doing this." I said, "Because I says, I have to stand up." And he says, "I think it's a good deal." I says, "I have to teach my grandkids. I've taught my kids that we're wolves, we're not sheep. And I have to teach my grandkids that we're wolves and not sheep. And if I don't fight for this, that you got to understand, if this costs me another $100,000, I don't give a fuck. I'll just work harder tomorrow." And I came out, and the judge says, "You're not leaving here." And it was a mediator. He was a retired judge, but he was a mediator. He goes, "You're not leaving here without paying a forfeiture. You have to understand that." And I said, "Really? Watch." I said, "Are you paying attention?" And I got up and I walked out. And my lawyer texted me on the phone. He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm fucking leaving." He's like, "So we're leaving?" I said, "I don't give a shit what you do, but I'm leaving." He's going, "I'm out of here." And he got up and walked out. So I got it down. I paid $750 I paid for half of the engineering and surveying to prove that they were on my property. The whole bill was $1,500. They paid 750. I paid 750, and we called it good. And I had to sign a thing that I wouldn't come back and sue him. I should have. It's like Wally, I believe, signed a thing. If he pays back all of that money, that they wouldn't come back to him for more. But I checked into it. He's still open to be prosecuted if he broke the law. So,
You know what? I hope
As he
he is.
should.
I hope he is, because he did break the law. I don't have the exact statute in front of me right
100%
now.
he did.
But
But what
the
he did
statute
is
is
he
that if
used his he used his position for financial gain.
Yep.
right,
Yep.
and
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
that's exactly how it's outlined in the statute,
And
that's
here's
what
the
he did.
thing:
Is he broke?
the memorandum says that he had to keep the training of the dog. And then he says, "Well, I made it a emotional support whatever dog." That isn't part of the deal. Part of you
No.
made. So he's saying he didn't know. You negotiated an illegal contract because it wasn't ratified
Yes.
by the board anywhere that we could see. So you went in negotiations with Bob Civic, who was the first county administrator we ever had. So they were trying to figure
Right.
out really what a county administrator's duties were, and what he had to get approved by the board. That's the excuse they're giving, right? And then Collada, who was the chairman of the county board and was also the chairman of the public safety committee, they negotiated this contract with the sheriff. I have all the documentation, and he had to keep up the training.
Right.
So I went
Right.
in, I found all the open records, and I pulled it all out. And right before that county board meeting is where we found out that he didn't keep the training up on the dog. So from the very
Right.
first day he was elected, he had not kept that training up on that dog. So you not only negotiated an illegal contract, but if we're going to say the contract is legal and binding, you can't say you didn't know what you were doing wrong, because you negotiated the fucking contract. So
Right.
he definitely stole from people in the county, without a doubt.
Ricky, it's all right if your little one wants to sit on your lap, bro. It's totally okay. It doesn't
All right.
bother us.
He got some candy, and now he wants to find it. And I'm trying to tell him where it is, and he's not paying attention.
We're all fathers, so obviously when it comes to kids, man, kids first,
Yeah.
man. I'm never gonna tell you that your kids
Well,
can't be on the show.
This is when we
It's a
were
community
talking earlier.
podcast. He's just as much a part of the community as we are.
This is why we were talking earlier. I said my kids are kind of feral. They just kind of do what they want, I love it because they're free to do what they want. And I try not to restrict them and not let them do things, but it caused problems. They draw on the walls and all that crap. And I gotta,
he's probably raising little Sam Woods right there.
yeah. I hope so. I hope they get involved and they do something different. That's Sam Wood, and that's my buddy Mariano.
If you set a good example for them, they will.
And that's what I'm trying to
go
do.
by. You can say,
like I said,
you've changed a lot, Ricky, since I've met you. I can tell you've calmed down a lot.
I used to be a wild one, and it's taken a long time for me to get to where I'm at. And my primary motivation is I want to change the now for the future of him, for the future of us, and for people coming after him, even his children and his children's children. And it starts with us right now. I said earlier, the haves and the have-nots, right? Unfortunately, I'm one of the have-nots. I've never had a position of power. I've never been able to affect change or do anything like this until I started doing this and started talking and looking into things and presenting facts and my opinions on situations.
You always had the ability to do it. You just woke it up.
I didn't know. You're right. I didn't know. And now that I'm aware of it, I'm going to use that, and I'm hoping I can parlay this platform into something different and it can grow. And we were talking about money earlier. I haven't monetized my Facebook videos, my YouTube videos, my TikTok videos. I make no money off any of that. I just post it in my free time. And my Facebook viewership is trending up 100% every week. It goes up by a factor of 100 every week. More and more and more people are watching, but I'm not making any money because it's not about the money for me. Would I like to make money?
People in the beginning were always accusing me of getting paid. I demonetized my YouTube channel when I started all of this. I used to make, just off my hunting, fishing, trapping, and everything, I made a couple $1,000s a month off my YouTube channel. And my biggest thing was, so I started out as, not having the money. But when I made the video on YouTube about the county fucking with me over that sign and me wanting to fight, the viewership went insane. And I made in 3 months, in 2.5 months, I made like $16,000. No shit. And that's the money that I used to hire my attorney.
Right.
And then I just started working harder and harder and harder to keep paying them, And then I got a lawsuit with the county. Now I'm paying fucking 2 attorneys. I got to work twice as hard. It's like, holy shit. And it gets expensive, man.
Speaking of money, one thing that I don't think I even made a video about this yet, but I intended to. I might have. I can't remember. I intend to put some feelers out there and see what people think about some sort of GoFundMe. That's a community GoFundMe, money that we can use for things in this community. Like if people want to know the truth behind things, behind numbers and things, throw a little bit of money in the pot. I'll go get the records for you and I'll put them out there so you can see. I plan on doing something like that, but I don't know how the law works around that. I know there's difference between donations and funding, and I don't want to get into a gray area.
The other thing, I don't think it hurts you, Ricky, because you can't run for public office. It would hurt a guy like me, because then I got to watch. If I ever decide to run for public office, there's only so much money I can take in donations. There's only so much money I can spend on this and spend on that. And you can bet your sweet ass, if I run for office, they're going to be deep up into whatever I do. So I'm really careful about that. But I don't think you're going to have to worry about that. The other, I don't know how that works. The only problem with that is then it tends to, anytime you add money, it tends to taint shit, right? It tends to be like, oh, well, Ricky's got his own agenda and he's not looking out for my agenda and he's spending all the money on his agenda. I think that you just might have to mow some lawns or something this summer, Ricky, and let your kids run a little bit feral and say, this is how I'm going to make the money to do that.
Well, that's one thing I'm worried about is if I do, please stop licking your hand, is if I do that and I get people, to donate money and do these things, and I find out, or it comes out that the information they were looking for is not what it actually is, then it opens up the avenue for people to say, oh,
they hate you.
Yes. And wait,
then you're
money on you.
Then you're Sam Wood sitting here listening to Ricky Brown talk about the county board, and he's, it's like, okay, I got to educate. I got to talk to Ricky because he doesn't have the information that he thinks he's got. So no, it's I would say, Ricky, do what you're doing for the community, mow some lawns, do something to make a little extra money on the side. And it sucks that you can't maybe make the extra money and give it to your family because you have a mission, but ultimately you are giving it to your family because you're making change. That's really what you
I,
can
Um,
do, man.
I, c- I can help you look into that potential as far as the GoFundMe. Maybe you can, because I got AI, I have access to a lot of programs. So we can
okay.
kind of brainstorm with what could potentially be. And then maybe there's some way you can kind of come up with some sort of like
YouTube, I
little
know you
member of,
in order to get monetized, I think you got to have 1,000 subscribers
yeah.
and you got to
So
have
I'm not looking at it from the
so
monetization
many views.
aspect. I'm looking at it as like maybe you need to have you got to create your little own committee, and then that committee can vote on what the money gets spent
Yeah,
for
maybe you
open
get
records
5 guys
requests
together
or
to go out and mow grasses.
yeah, you know what I'm
You
saying?
know,
That way when you
and then it's
open up
not a
a
donation,
GoFundMe,
right? If you
it's not
guys
just for one person, it's for everyone.
even if, like I
That's
said, if you
something
get
I've
a couple of
discussed with
guys,
people.
if you can go out and get money raised, like a business type thing where, we're going to get 4 or 5 guys together and we're going to go out once a week and mow 10 people's grass and we're going to use that money to get open
Yeah.
records requests. And that might be something that it do good. And so, my lawyer told me this, it costs a lot of money to be right. And that's what they hold over your
Oh, I
head.
believe it.
He's like, this is going to cost you. One of my lawyers was $400 an hour and the other guy was $300 an hour, and it's like, shit, you got them both working at the same time, and it's like, oh, that's 700
They
bucks
didn't
an
think.
hour. So I'm a product of
Yeah,
my
it's up
environment,
quick.
right? In order to fight the system, I had to work fucking way harder than everybody else because I had to make the extra money, and just along the way, I just stumbled into, and don't look at another rule of Sam Woods is everything has a somebody. And I talked
Hey,
about
I
this
did
on
get a
our
question.
podcast too. Mariano is the guy who makes the shower doors. He didn't wake up in the morning thinking he was going to do shower doors. He just stumbled into that. And maybe Ricky, by expanding your horizons and trying to do extra, to get ahead of this, something will come along. It's just like the same old way. If you're doing it right and you're doing it pure, something will come along. And like I said, if it's like I need $100 a month to get the records that I know I need. And there's going to be, and you say, listen, I'm going to make $100 extra a month doing whatever I got to do. And that's going to be my budget
Mhm.
for the open records request. And it'll build and it'll build and it'll build. So set yourself a budget and that's what you have to work within, and it's like, sooner or later, they're going to give you a stack of shit with a little note on it that says, plant a tree for the one you killed to get all this paperwork. Yeah, fuck you. I'll
Yeah.
plant 5 trees.
Yeah.
But but that's really what you got to be, and it's got to be you focus on that and
So
fight the fuck.
I've spoken with people as far as like starting a committee, something like not APAC, but something along those lines, right? Not really a politically motivated organization, but an organization that's focused on the community where the funding for it would be completely transparent. It would be on our website. It would be anybody could click on it and see where the money's going, who's managing the money, what's being dumped it. That way nobody could be free to say he's embezzling or he's using the money for his own good or
Probably
whatever,
nothing
whatnot,
stopping you from
that
having a
sort of
brat
thing.
fry.
Yeah, I was gonna say the
Have a
AMVETs in
brat
Red
fry.
Granite,
I
AMVETs
don't know
Post
how all of
13,
that works.
they're the
I just know it's easier. Being a Sam Wood, it's just easier. I control everything, right?
hot
Because then
dogs are really
I
cheap. They're easy to cook. There's
yeah,
permits. You have to have permits for certain things. And like, I'd say talk to the AMVETs if you know anybody that's an AMVET Post
You're
13 Red
echoing.
Granite.
Xavier, please
Those
go shut that
guys,
door
Chuck and
because
a
that's why
couple
that thing's
other those
echoing.
guys. Manny, I'm sure you know Manny. He's across the street from Quick Trip. He had like that
I'm
Cadillac.
not sure what's
Always
happening,
got
but
like a
I
truck or
can't
something
hear
with a
anything.
huge
You guys are
antenna on
both
it.
frozen.
But yeah, I was gonna
yeah. You
say talk to those guys. Get
just
involved
keep
with one of their
reaching
events.
out and just tell people, hey, I'll get your open records request,
Yeah,
but
I
this is what
lost you
it's going to
guys. You're both
cost.
frozen.
I don't know.
I
You just
can't
got to
hear
figure
anything
it out.
anybody's saying
Don't
right
get
now.
down
Let me try. I'm gonna go shut the
trodden and
door. Hang
just
on. Let me
say,
see if I
I
can
got
do
to
that.
figure out a
If you can
way
hear me,
to make
try
an
to shut
extra
this door.
$100 a month. And it's not hard to make $100 a month. His phone went dead. I told you to make sure he charges it.
Yeah, I think he's frozen. Are you frozen,
Is he
Ricky?
frozen?
I think he's frozen. Give it a second. It'll if he lags out, he might just lag back in. Sometimes it just takes a second. But I mean, here we
Reconnecting.
are at almost 2 hours now.
Yeah.
1 hour and 57 minutes. This is a heck of an episode right here.